Good morning, everybody. Oh, is this on? I am Akiko Yamazaki, President of the Asian Art Museum Foundation and Vice Chair of the Asian Art Commission. Welcome to the Asian Art Museum. The museum's collections and programs represent more than 40 countries in Asia and span more than 6,000 years of history. And our mission is to lead a global audience in discovering Asian art and culture. And so we are thrilled that San Francisco will host the third APEC Seniors Officials meeting in September. We hope to welcome many attendees to the museum and offer a place where they can relax and learn and feel at home. So please tell them about this wonderful museum and the many programs that will be going on during that time. We thank the City of San Francisco, the State of California, and the U.S. State Department for bringing this important gathering to San Francisco and the Bay Area, and the Bay Area Council for its work to make the meeting successful. We look forward to further strengthening our ties to Asia. It is now my pleasure to introduce San Francisco Mayor Edwin Lee. Mayor Lee was sworn into the office in January and became San Francisco's first Asian American mayor. Prior to becoming mayor, he kept the city running efficiently and effectively as chief administrative officer. And as a commissioner, I had the pleasure to attend a commissioner's meeting, and I have to attest that, yes, the meeting started on time and ended on time. So thank you, Mayor. With further ado, please join me in welcoming Mayor Lee.
Thank you, Kiko, and thank you all for coming here today. It's actually quite appropriate and exciting that we're here at the Asian Art Museum to host this announcement and to let you all know how excited I am and how excited the city family is to host the preliminary meetings before the APEC conference in November. This September, there'll be a series of meetings and a number of delegates coming to San Francisco, and the most important part is the Women's Economic Summit that will be launched here, that will have gatherings of hundreds of people to advise on the world economy and how we can reduce trade deficits as well as trade barriers to our partners in the 21-member APEC membership. And when you realize what the APEC cooperation is, the membership, and what it means to not only our Bay Area and all the things that we're producing now, but to our whole country, you'll realize that it is so important that this APEC conference succeed in all of its goals. When you realize that the members of the APEC cooperation countries, the 21 members represent 55% of the global gross domestic product. That is enormous. That 58% of our own American exports are exported to member countries. That literally half of the top 15 partners in APEC are major companies of the United States. That we are trade partners with over half of them as our top trade partners. When you realize those numbers, you understand why it is important and what the significance it is that these preliminary meetings take place here in San Francisco. I'm excited because not only I get to be mayor during this time, I've been so fortunate to have met our president now 3 times, but now to welcome hopefully our Secretary of State to be here as she launches one of the most important things. I've watched her career for many, many years, and I know how dedicated she is about the world economy and what we as a country can do better with. And as a Secretary of State for our country, I know that she will greatly benefit from the whole environment of San Francisco and the Bay Area. We have met with Ambassador Tong this morning and with Lorraine from our State Department in preparation with our Bay Area Council partners and our own protocol office and our whole staff to begin the very specific deliberations in partnership with our business community and our departments. We are going to do this in the way in which we've been used to doing very high world-class events, and to make sure that the delegates know that coming to San Francisco not only is a beautiful place to be in, that it is also reestablishes our status as the gateway to the Pacific. That has been the repeating theme of my tenure here as the mayor, is that we are not only doing things better locally, we are also positioning ourselves globally. And that's why we are working more closely with our business partners, because most of them, if not every one of them, do not want to be just a San Francisco company or a Bay Area company. They want to be the global headquarters for the whole Pacific Rim that will lead them to other partnerships throughout the world. That's what being in San Francisco is all about. It leads to so many other great things that people do. And so I want to present to you today that our interests and our effort here is going to be in really top-notch. That we will look at this as in addition to the biggest conventions that we're used to hosting, but we're also going to let people know that this is the proper place for these kinds of meetings. When you look at the history of San Francisco and you look at how we had positioned ourselves way back in the early 1930s and signing the United Nations Charter here and understanding our role in the world and as well as the status of the world economy today, you'll know that we want to reposition ourselves again with a new economy, the green economy, the clean and the green tech. All the things we're doing in Mission Bay, all the things that we're doing with businesses in Silicon Valley and the East Bay, all is reflective of how important these meetings will be and how important the APEC conference will be in Honolulu in November. So it all leads here, but it also begins here as well. And we look forward to working with our State Department officials, with all of our protocol personnel, and the Bay Area Council to raise the level of awareness. And you'll see me attending a lot of the events because I get very, very excited. And I know our department heads will also be very excited to work together to provide a high level of safety for all of the delegates who will be here, but at the same time to welcome and create an environment where attendees will submit the best ideas there are to furthering reduction of trade barriers and to make sure issues, including issues of women and their role in the economy, but also the economy itself as a world economy, begins having a very, very high attention, and that San Francisco will be a place where this can happen, and that it will happen in the most inviting and welcome way. So I want to thank the State Department for choosing San Francisco. It's a very, very unique selection for us, but it's one that we're very ready for, and I know all of you will be very excited to participate and to be sponsoring all of the wonderful events in September as we lead to the APEC conference. Thank you very much.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Kurt Tong, and I'm the U.S. Ambassador to Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. Although I'm an ambassador, I'm based in Washington and manage the U.S. government's APEC operations, and in particular set the agenda for our negotiations through APEC to try and achieve our substantive goals. What I'd like to do this morning, very briefly, is outline a little bit about how the U.S. views APEC, the importance that we put upon this institution, and then give you a sense of our plans for the activities in San Francisco. At the end of my briefing, we'll hand out some slides which give some of that detailed information for you all to draw upon. Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum is really the premier location for discussion, but also negotiation and pushing the agenda for economic integration in the Asia-Pacific region. This is a critical goal for the United States government. The Asia-Pacific is the growth center of the planet. As Mayor Lee outlined, APEC represents more than half of our exports, more than half of the global economy, almost half of the population in the world. The United States needs to link our economy more closely to the Asia-Pacific economy in order to experience the kind of growth that we want to have in the future. In that regard, there's a very important aspect of APEC which I really want you to take home and understand today, which it is also the most open forum for private sector participation that exists on the planet. There are multiple opportunities throughout the APEC discussions for private sector people to participate directly in the dialogue that takes place within APEC, and also to provide ideas and have influence on the outcomes, which we hope to achieve through the course of the year. We have outlined 3 themes for APEC in 2011 in our host year. Now, being host of APEC also means that we're the chair. So we set the agenda and decide what proposals are put on the table, and then try and bring around the other 20 economies to our point of view. And they also offer their own perspectives, and we negotiate outcomes which hopefully drive forward a substantive policy agenda. The 3 that we've outlined for the year are strengthening regional economic integration and expanding trade, of course, which is the central purpose of APEC as an organization, green growth, and regulatory cooperation and convergence. On the regional economic integration piece, the most important agenda for the year is deciding upon a set of next-generation trade and investment issues and figuring out strategies for pursuing those going into the future. Many of you are aware that the United States is currently negotiating a free trade agreement with 8 APEC economies. It's called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That agreement, building upon the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, which I'll put a plug in for that, will soon be, there will be an opportunity for members of Congress to vote in favor of that agreement quite soon, and we're looking forward to that. But the Trans-Pacific Partnership, building upon that, has adopted this next-generation trade and investment agenda, and we hope to use APEC to socialize these ideas, get broader agreement within APEC about the importance of this agenda, and seek to drive the operations of regional economic integration going forward based upon those understandings. In the green growth area, we're also putting a special emphasis on trade. We've put forward specific proposals on trade and environmental goods and services, on some specific issues like remanufacturing, demonstration vehicles and the like. We're pushing an agenda on elimination of fossil fuel subsidies, on combating illegal forestry. It's a really rich agenda on the green growth front. And finally, on advancing regulatory cooperation, we're looking to economies to establish a framework with us for identifying opportunities for regulations to be brought closer together among the APEC economies at an earlier stage of the development of those regulations in order to avoid the emergence of trade barriers. Now, so back to the APEC meetings themselves. We have 4 rounds this year. The United States took a strategy of squeezing everything into just 4 rounds. Japan had, I believe, over a dozen last year. We found that resulted in a lot of travel. So we had a round in Washington in the first half of March. I go 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I get on a plane to Big Sky, Montana for our second round, which involves a trade ministerial meeting. But our biggest round, preliminary to the leaders meeting in November in Hawaii, is the one here in San Francisco. There'll be 2 weeks packed with a number of very, very important meetings, high-level meetings, and the degree of private sector participation is highest in our set of San Francisco meetings, because we realize that the Bay Area in particular has such a rich body of U.S. companies, and also it's an area that is of great interest to foreign companies as well. So we expect very strong attendance from the private sector from overseas, but also hoping to get a lot of participation from the Bay Area private sector. To outline the events, and you'll get a handout with this, so you don't need to write these down, but on September 13th and 14th, there will be an Energy Transport Ministerial Conference, co-chaired by Secretary Chu from the Energy Department and Secretary LaHood from the Department of Transportation. This is a unique event. This hasn't been done in APEC before, but by bringing these 2 sets of government officials together, energy officials and transportation officials, we hope to set a new agenda and new understandings in the region for energy-efficient transportation. It'll be a high-profile event. We have a lot of private sector interest in this opportunity. From September 14 to 17 is the Women in Economy Summit, and this is such an important event. It's very, very important because my boss, Secretary Clinton, will be chairing it. But it's also a really unique opportunity for the APEC to set the agenda for how the economies of the region should endeavor to increase women's entrepreneurship and women's participation in the workforce throughout the region. We expect this opportunity, this set of meetings, to result in a set of findings which are then endorsed by the leaders in Hawaii and establish a new understanding throughout the region about how to pursue issues in this area. So important that Lorraine Harriton, my colleague, Special Representative Lorraine Harriton, is going to give you a more detailed briefing on this meeting in just a moment. Another one to highlight is a Health Systems Innovation Dialogue on September 16 and 17, which will also involve senior government officials as well as private sector officials, with a focus on public health challenges in the region, and including ways to cooperate in strengthening health systems and how they operate. The Secure Trade and the APEC Region Conference will be held on September 18th and 19th with a focus on supply chain connectivity and making trade secure at the same time as making it smooth and effective. A high-level meeting on innovation, trade, and technology will take place on September 19th and 20th. It's particularly appropriate for the Bay Area, of course, because of the strong IT sector in this region, and we expect a lot of private sector participation in this opportunity, which will be focusing on establishing a set of principles for the proper handling and proper policies surrounding information technology in the Asia-Pacific region. There will be a Senior Disaster Management Officials Forum on September 21 and 23. This will get above normal attention, I believe, because of the tragedies which have happened recently in Japan and other countries in the region, and we're hearing a lot of interest from around the APEC region to redouble the efforts of the organization on disaster preparedness and response. And then finally, the one to highlight, of course, is the senior officials meeting. We call this senior officials meeting. The whole process is senior officials meeting, but that happens on September 25 to 26, where we will wrap up all of these conclusions and try to package them up and have them ready for the APEC leaders in Hawaii on November 13th and 14th. So really a broad agenda. I hope I've been able to convey a sense. Private sector participation is extremely welcome. A broad agenda, a long agenda, and there's opportunities for all of you to get involved and participate. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you to the museum for hosting us in this very lovely location, and I look forward to discussion with you all later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Tong. And I also want to thank the mayor and the city of San Francisco, as well as the state of California, for being the host of this briefing, as well as for the SOM3, as well as for the Women in the Economy Summit, which we also call the WES. And I'm especially delighted to be here in San Francisco because I'm really a California girl, despite my New York accent and my federal title. I've spent 25 years in the Bay Area. In fact, Ron Segi, who's CEO of Echelon, is one of the companies I worked with. So this is really a great opportunity for me to be involved with all my old friends and to make this event a really world-class success. I'm also pleased to be joining Ambassador Tong, our ambassador for women's issues, Milan Vivir, and most notably Secretary Clinton, who will be here to lead the Women in the Economy Summit, which will happen on September 13th through 16th in San Francisco. And I think, as many of you know, Secretary Clinton's her legacy issue is women's economic empowerment and leadership. So we really are delighted to be having her here and really putting the power of her focus on this event. It's really a unique opportunity. As Ambassador Tong mentioned, in keeping with the increased focus on private-public partnership and APEC, the WES will be really the premier event that will bring over 500 public and private sector leaders focused on a dialogue that fosters women's economic empowerment among the APEC economies. The WES will be developing and supporting a set of policy recommendations that will be delivered to the APEC Economy Leaders meeting that is scheduled in Honolulu on November 12th and 13th. The WES forum will integrate women more fully into the economic planning of APEC and the policy development. The event is designed for private sector leaders representing multinational corporations, SMEs, academic and civil society, as well as senior government officials responsible for setting the international economic, trade, and SME policies together to put these recommendations together. Secretary Clinton will be the head of the high-level policy dialogue at WES, and she will also be delivering a keynote address to the entire community. She is, as we speak, reaching out to her counterparts in the economies around the Asia-Pacific community, as well as some of her counterparts within the U.S. cabinet to attend the event. As an outstanding example of our public-private sector partnership, the private sector has been intricately involved in putting together the summit. So we really want to thank Cal APEC and the host committee that's been put together, and especially the Bay Area Council under the leadership of Jim Wunderman, who will speak in a minute. And they've been an invaluable partner and intricately involved in the planning and programming of this event. As the U.S. Private sector brings together strong leadership and commitment to the economic empowerment of women throughout the APEC region, a steering committee specifically for Women and the Economy Summit has been formed. Two of the founding companies are here, DeVry and Marvell Technologies, and we will be hearing from the co-founder of Marvell in a few minutes. Women play a powerful role in the global economy and within the APEC region. Women's participation in the labor force can increase the long-term GDP and in relevant cases really reduce poverty. In many economies, increasing women's employment rates is beneficial to that process. And for example, by increasing the U.S. Female employment up to the as equal, it would increase GDP in the U.S. by 9%, in the Eurozone by 13%, and in Japan by 16%, according to a study by Goldman Sachs. So when we're talking about women's economic empowerment, we're not just talking about it being the right thing to do, it's actually the economic effective thing to do. So to that, in that mind, our policy discussions focus on access to capital, capacity and skills building, access to markets, and women's leadership. So we really are trying to put an agenda together to improve the economic growth of the entire region through women's economic empowerment. And some of our programmatic themes that we will be talking about at the conference are public-private partnerships, women and green jobs, financial inclusion, creating empowering environment, entrepreneurship, technology, innovation, and developing the next generation of leaders. As Secretary Clinton has said, if we decide as societies, governments, and businesses to invest in women and girls, we will strengthen our efforts to fight poverty, drive development, and spread stability. When women thrive, families, communities, and countries survive, and the world becomes a more peaceful and prosperous place. So I'm really looking forward to working with all of you to make this a really special world-class event, to involve all of you in this efforts. It's really a community effort. Thank you so much for being here today and for your continuing support. And now I'd like to invite our chief partner in making this event happen in the private sector, and that's Jim Wunderman, who's CEO of the Bay Area Council.
Thank you, Lorraine, for the kind comments. Mayor Ed Lee, thank you for your leadership. You've been a phenomenal mayor, and it's great listening to your comments about why this is going to be so special for your city and the region. Ambassador Tong, Charlotte Schultz, the leader of everything in San Francisco. When we do things big, we do them big because we have Charlotte and others don't. It's a tremendous strategic advantage for San Francisco for so long. Most of us think about, when you think about the Bay Area Council, and it's great to see so many friends here, and thank you, by the way, Akiko, it's great to be here at the Asian and see the wonderful things that you've done here. This is, I think, the right place to be holding this event. We think about the work the Council does on transportation and renewable energy and education and water policy and stuff like that. But some of you probably don't know that back in 1945, the Council was actually founded by the leaders of the time, Governor Earl Warren and people like Henry Kaiser and Stephen Bechtel Sr. founded the Bay Area Council, and the first act, it was to think about what would happen in the post-war economy to make San Francisco and the Bay Area thrive. And at that time, Silicon Valley, San Jose had a population of 45,000 people. It's changed a little bit. And so some of the vision of these folks at the time led to the Bay Area that we know today, and hopefully all for the better. But their first act was to bring the United Nations delegates here to San Francisco to sign the charter at Herbst Theater. And here we are 65, 66 years later. It's in our blood for the Bay Area Council to have formed Cal APEC, which is the group that worked to convince Ambassador Tong and his associates at the State Department to pick San Francisco as a place to bring these world leaders to discuss the most important issues of our day. And we're very pleased that you selected San Francisco for this honorable role, and we plan to do you proud, Mr. Ambassador, and members of our team at the State Department. So, this is very, very exciting stuff for the Bay Area Council, and we're going to get behind it all the way. Improving our global competitiveness as a region is what the Bay Area Council is all about, so everything that we do is all about that, and for that reason, having APEC here in San Francisco, it's kind of like nirvana to the members of the Bay Area Council, who, for the most part, are major global companies. So this fits right in with our mission, and we're very pleased that you made the announcement earlier that we would be selected to do this. Now we just have to make it happen. Just a couple of data points. California businesses buy and sell over $300 billion with their counterparts in APEC economies. That, of course, is more than any other state. We have two-way shipping surpassing $420 billion US. Our state is a strategic gateway for merchandise shipments between the U.S. and APEC member economies. And California has the most foreign direct investment from APEC economies than any other state. So we're right in the middle of this. And as the economies of the APEC members goes, so goes the economy of San Francisco and California. So these meetings are absolutely vital to the future of this city and to the future of this region. And we couldn't be more excited to have you coming here. But more recently, we learned something that's even more exciting than that. We learned that there would be an absolutely phenomenal Women's Economic Summit that would become the leader of the meetings that will be happening in San Francisco. And none other than our Secretary of State, our wonderful friend Hillary Clinton, is leading this effort and making it her personal mission to empower women as not only in part of the United States economy, but as part of the world economy. And that's something that's very special here in San Francisco and California. To wit, our two representatives in the United States Senate, Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, my former boss, women. The minority leader, former Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, friend to all of us in this room. Go up and down the peninsula into Marin County, across the bay. Sacramento, women, women, women. We don't just enable women to lead in the Bay Area, we cherish women's leadership. It's very special and important to us. So I think having, having this in San Francisco is going to be a big, big deal, and we're not just going to welcome it, we're going to make it happen in a very, very big way. And we're going to count on our friends here in San Francisco City Hall to do it like none other can, because Bay Area Council is good at doing some stuff, but when it comes to being on the world stage, I think that we're going to leave that to Charlotte to figure that out, and then we'll just help her. We'll just help her make it happen the way we think we can do. But this is big. Our belief is that the success of women in the world economy is going to be the success of the world economy. That's how important this thing is, and I think Lorraine provided some of the statistical background to indicate what happens to GDP when women succeed and women play a role. And as the leaders of a CEO organization like the Bay Area Council, I think we can do much, much more to help create women as CEOs and build on women as CEOs and support them and as entrepreneurs. The summit is going to do that, and it's not going to just talk about the policies that need to be put in place to make women succeed in the economy, because we know for what those are. It's going to highlight the successes in this country and in the APEC economies. That's just what's happening. I won't go through the litany and the list of the things that are under consideration, but you will be very, very excited to think about who's going to be coming in San Francisco and what's going to be the topics of conversation as part of this summit. So get very excited about what is to come. Of course, to make this happen and do it in the right way, we're not going to be able to do it without your support. So we have many of the corporate leaders here from San Francisco and the Bay Area here today. You'll hear from one of them in a few moments. I want to thank Visa and Chevron, both represented here today, which helped sponsor the initial organizing committee for Cal APEC. Many other companies, we are and will be reaching out to you to help sponsor and make this successful. There's a lot of events. Folks are going to be here, leaders from 21 nations, for 2 weeks in San Francisco, and we have to do this right. And so we want to do more than that, and we will be reaching out to you on that basis. When you think about the Women's Economic Summit, there's an individual in the Bay Area who sort of personifies what this is all about. She was born in Shanghai. She went to university here in the Bay Area, and she came to be the co-founder of one of the very top companies, most successful companies in the Bay Area, Marvell Technologies. I've gotten to know her and watch her work and her husband as co-founders of the business. They not only do very good business, they're absolutely powerful stalwarts for the greater civic community of the region. And it's just phenomenal, the work that you're doing at Marvell, and we're really proud of you. And you set a wonderful example, and they're in and ready to lead on this thing. So without any further ado, let me introduce Weili Dai. She's the co-founder of Marvell, and frankly, I think you'll see she's really much more than that. When Weili's finished, we'll have a chance to, I'll come back and moderate a few questions from the media if you have them, but Weili Dai, please come to the podium. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim, for your very kind words. It's all about teamwork. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Weili Dai. I'm co-founder of Marvell Technology. We're top 3 fabless semiconductor company in the world. It is my honor to be part of this year's APEC meetings, and especially Women and Economy Summit. I want to, first of all, thank Secretary Clinton, Ambassador Tang, Ambassador Vivier, and the State Department staff for their leadership for promoting greater operations between U.S. and Asia Pacific. Developing better trade channels in Asia is very critical for the future of U.S., California, and many technology companies in the Silicon Valley. I was born in Shanghai and came to this beautiful city, San Francisco, over 30 years ago with very little English language skill. And then I met my husband, who was born in Jakarta, Indonesia, over 30 years ago. And we got a great education from UC Berkeley and built from ground up, hard work, dedication, and passion. And that's how we, today, 16 years later, we're very proud to build such a high-tech company. And we created over 3,000 jobs in US, and the rest of the half, total of about 6,000 people globally. We are very proud for the US leadership in high-tech industry, and we believe US is the best innovation country and center in the world. So let's continue to support and make sure we maintain the leadership. We greatly value our existing partnerships within the APEC economies and hope to continue to foster these relationships through the meetings and Women's Summit. And I hope myself could share some of my experience and encourage women around the world to this effort. At this summit, we will be focusing on the high-tech, of course, all the industry. For my side, maybe I can share some experience regarding high-tech, and hopefully we collaborate with government, educators can do better work to advance women in technology, and together we grow the global economy together. I encourage my fellow women executives throughout Bay Area to join us for this very important and world-changing movement. And thank you very much.
So perhaps I could ask the speakers to come back up and we can take some questions if you have them. Are there questions from the media? Andrew, come on up.
Actually, I'm Andrew Ross of the San Francisco Chronicle. This is for Ambassador Tom. You mentioned, sir, that one of the agenda items was, I think I quoted you correctly, the elimination of fossil fuel subsidies. That jumped out at me because Chevron is one of the organizers, one of the sponsors of the organizing committees. It's a very controversial topic in Washington. Can you say a little bit more about that?
The objectives in that on that agenda item, consistent with our work in the G20 forum, is to help economies identify the range of policies which they currently follow, and producer subsidies and consumer subsidies writ large, and to determine for themselves which of those subsidies don't make sense economically, and figure out ways to target them more narrowly so that they have the social impact that's desired. Often the economies of the region are seeking to make basic energy costs less expensive for low-income people, but they utilize policies which are more expensive and end up contributing to wasteful consumption of excessive amounts of energy. And so the idea is to help these economies figure out how to design better policies through benchmarking and sharing of best practices.
So would America's current oil depletion lands be in trouble?
I'm not sure.
Other questions from the sirens or the press? Well, we answered all the questions. So thank you very much. We appreciate being here, and Mayor Lee, Ambassador Lorraine, Charles, Whaley. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the day. And